Bonjour encore. Dans cette vidéo, je vais montrer comment gagner une note de 7 sur l'examen papier 1 de français B de BI niveau moyenne. Et donc, pour ça, j'ai fait des notes et j'ai trouvé mes meilleures astuces pour comment étudier la vocabulaire, quel type de vocabulaire est essentiel pour l'examen et comment faire les examens quand tu pratiques. Donc, on y va. Okay, firstly for me, what I've found is you need to study a specific type of vocabulary. And it's all relevant to the exam and to the types of text that you're going to see. And so for this, you have to study vocabulary centered around linking words. These are like les connecteurs logiques en français, par exemple, en revanche, or aussitôt que, cependant, les mots comme ça. These are the connecteurs logiques. You also need to study communication verbs. These are basically the je pense que synonyms, like je trouve que, je considère que, c'est clair que, les expressions comme ça. You need to practice these because you're going to see them in the text, and it's important to understand and master them. Moreover, les adjectifs et les adverbes. So you're going to be studying adjectives and adverbs in your vocabulary because there's so many and a lot of them are synonymous. This is really important because one of the biggest elements of the paper 1 exam is synonym identification. So you have to know adjectives and their various synonyms and antonyms. It's really important to showcase your overall understanding and mastery of the French language. And so as you find synonyms and adverbs and adjectives, you got to be able to find their equivalents. So that's something really important you need to be adding to your vocab. Aussi, on doit trouver les expressions idiomatiques courantes. These are idiomatic expressions in French. These are so important. They're always going to show up on the exam, especially in a text C of the paper 1. And so you need to understand what they mean, their significance, and how they're used. Because more than likely, there's going to be a question on an idiomatic expression. And also verb tenses, very important, very simple, but often overlooked. You have to be studying this because you have to demonstrate straight up mastery of the verb tenses and of the relevant subject matter. Another important thing you got to be looking at is sentence structure in French. Les structures des phrases. Il faut savoir comment écrire les questions, comment écrire les 6 phrases. These are like if statements, if phrases. Comment écrire les phrases avec par, like phrases that use by or but or things like that. Understanding sentence structure will help you a lot with fill in the blanks questions or other things like that on the paper 1. And so in the description, I've listed examples to all these types of vocabulary that you need to study. And so the second really important element, obviously, is doing mock exam practice. You have to practice mock paper 1s, which basically means past papers that you can find. And doing this will acquaint you with the structure of the exam, how the questions are formulated, and how to answer them. This helps a lot because the question styles repeat. What this means is on the exam, the vrai ou faux type questions or the fill in the blanks, the matching questions, it really repeats year after year. So as you practice more of them, you'll become familiar with how the questions work and you'll be able to answer them effectively. So in the description below, I also have a link to several past papers from over 20 years. That should be a useful resource. And so the key thing there is how you practice the exams. The key to practicing the exams is you want to be scouring for vocabulary. As you do a mock exam, you're gathering intel basically. And what that means is you're looking for words and expressions that you don't know, and you want to be able to study these so you can add them to a vocabulary list. Now, when studying vocabulary, I recommend using flashcards or a flashcard practice app like Anki. It's really good for memorization. What you want to do is write down a French word or expression in French and its equivalent in English, and just practice translating it back to English and then from English back to French over and over. And it'll be done through repetition where you're practicing to memorize the expressions and words that you find. If you do this, you'll be able to master a really dense level of vocabulary that will ultimately equip you with more than enough knowledge to navigate well in the exam. Et donc pour ça, il faut juste étudier comme quotidien pour développer les compétences de maîtriser la vocabulaire. Et avec tout ça, il faut soyez patient surtout et il faut aussi préparer toutes les choses en avance. What this means is you got to practice in advance. You have to be practicing vocabulary, I'd say, within daily study or at least 3 times a week using Anki or some other flashcard device. And you have to be doing this in a manner where you're memorizing and repeating over and over the important expressions and words and sentence structures that you'll need. And if you do this, once you see it in a text, it'll be so much easier to navigate. And so that's all. All the resources will be in the description. Et bonne chance.